Thanks for staying with us here on TVC Breakfast. It's not time for us to look at what the papers are reporting. The Nation newspaper with the banner headline, "Our challenges going into 2027 polls by INEC chair." Next is the first daily. INEC raises the alarm over dirty voter register, orders nationwide public verification. Commission warns integrity of 2027 elections at risk as inconsistencies spike. Blueprint newspaper, achieving real-time results upload to IREV, our toughest battle. Amokwiton. Next is the Punch newspaper. Insecurity, federal government approves 94,000 new enlistments. Nigerian News Direct, federal government to borrow 17.89 trillion naira to finance 2026 budget deficit. This Nigeria, Oshiomole, Ndume face-off disrupts ambassadorial nominee. The Guardian newspaper, pricing weak tourism infrastructure threatened $2 billion dirty December target. And Platform Times, Maritime scandal, U.S. Navy arrests Nigerian VLCC linked to oil theft, drug ring. And Friday, Leadership Friday, shock tribute as Bayelsa Deputy Governor slums dies. Nature News newspaper, Niger's Yusufu, 4 others win UNEP's 2025 award for environmental action. And last but not least is Sport and Life. Nigeria's final 28-man squad, Okoye, Umar, Arokodare dropped. Akin Somero and Nadi Alebioshu Lawal get debut call-up as Shell names 28 players for 2025 AFCON. I'll be doing this with my colleagues, Etoma, Bria, and indeed Olamide Odekunle. Why is it that it's only your name that I call him for?
I noticed yesterday.
All right, then, let's get down to brass tacks. Looking at the Nation newspaper, INEC is raising the alarm, about the voter register, and then that's because they're getting prepared for 2027. Yeah. During the time of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, he was able to ensure that we have, calendar for the timeline for each election, whether off-cycle or the general election. But the current INEC boss, Amokwiton, is saying that there is something called dirty voter register. Meanwhile, that's the reason they are leaving out the CVR for everyone to see all through the local government. Go check your name. If there's any error, or you are able to spot names like Michael Jackson, who is this?
Shania Twain.
or Lucky Dube, all of those names. So you need to go check ahead of 2027.
The instructive thing for me is that he's crying out now, and he has time. He has almost a whole year to take care of all these issues. And another thing that he said that made me, that touched me is, look, uploading real time on IREV is giving problems. And he has a whole year to do this. It's good he's talking about these things now so that he has enough time to fix those things before the general election. From his body language, he is really, really serious about giving us one of the best elections that we can have. I'm so happy that these things are coming out now with ample time, to fix them before the election.
And there is this IREV IREV portal where everyone goes to check, election results as they are being uploaded. So, but he's complaining about ability to do that in real time, because it's supposed to be real time, because of the bad networks we have, especially in those rural areas. So he's calling on the NCC that, man, you have to do your job.
And, for me, I believe that I know that Professor Joash Amopita, he knows that this time around, Nigerians are not going to joke. They're going to hold him by the neck. So I believe that that's why he's trying to make sure that...
But you're not holding by the neck.
No, well, Nigerians will. If this election we're still seeing it's not credible, there are so many problems and all. So I feel like that's why he's putting and turning a lot of energy to some of the things that will make it great. Now talk about the fact that we have duplicate people on the list, people that have died, their names are still appearing there. I'm happy that he's mentioning all these things. But when we talk about the IREV, we need to understand how important it is, you know, to have those uploads just immediately. Now, it's not even just about that. Are we training the people that will be, you know, uploading it? Because if those people don't upload it well, there will also be a problem as well. So we also need to look at training those people. Now, very importantly, we need to look at our mobile networks. We keep complaining about, oh, the service, there's going to be bad service in that area. Now that we have known that this is a problem, we still have ample time to make sure that we fix that. How are we getting stronger network to make sure that these things will go immediately? Because I tell you, if we're able to train these people and make sure that they are posting in real time, we are now seeing that we're getting the information. Nobody will come and say, oh, you cheated me, you did this, you did that. So for Joash Abopita, I'm hoping that he's not just saying all these things. He's making sure that, you know, all the challenges he's seeing, he's able to work against this challenge to make sure that 2027, we get a good and credible election. We get to see the results as they come.
Absolutely.
As they hot, I'll just drop it there.
Yeah, absolutely. and he's also calling on politicians and also voters, because there are a whole lot of people who complain. You know, as electorates, let me just say all of us, we complain about bad governance. But then when it's time for election, I understand that we're always in the line of duty. We don't always have the time to vote. But Nigerians do not go ahead to vote. And they will complain about bad governance and all of that. So he's saying, politicians, you need to mobilize your voters. You voter yourself, you also need to go out, get yourself registered. Not after registration, you collect your INEC card and then you're back home, you're not doing the right thing. So why is it that year in, year out, or maybe year in, year out, or every election cycle, we do not get people, you know, to vote as we used to have back in the day?
Absolutely. Voter participation has gone down, and it's because people no longer believe in the ballot, which is a shame. People no longer believe in the ballot, and it's that hope and that belief that drives somebody to stand hours in the sun. Say, I hope my vote counts. It's what drives somebody to get their voter registration done. But I do respect the fact that Mr. Dr. Joash Abopita is coming out to say INEC cannot safeguard the electoral process and electoral integrity alone. We're calling on public verification so all of us can fix the system together. And I like that's moving Nigerians from passive recipients of electoral processes to active custodians of electoral integrity, which is very, very important. You know, Ria, you rightly spoken about the importance of IREV. IREV is so important because it's where Nigerians go to see their democracy working. It's where they get reassurance. And so they must be uploaded in real time. That is utmost, and it's a priority. It's a shame to know that there are people that wait hours in the sun and their votes will not count at the end of the day. It's absolutely unacceptable. And so he's calling on all of us to be part of that process. And
if we want people to vote, I'll just drop it here. If we want people to vote, we need to make sure that their votes count so that they will believe in, you know, just putting their thumb and voting.
And him also calling on the NCC. It's to remind us that when one process fails, another suffers. The NCC is not doing their job, and God forbid our votes now suffer.
Let's move on to the Punch newspaper. Insecurity, federal government approves 94,000 new enlistments. And, you know, this is against the backdrop of the fact that we have less boots on the ground. Talk about the police. The president approved 50 additional recruitments of Nigeria for the Nigerian police, 30,000 for the Nigerian army, and so even paramilitary, you know, also considering more numbers. So I do not know how long this is going to take, because training might last for as long as 6 months more. Maybe they are going to do crash course or something.
Yes, in a situation like this, the training will be like a crash course. It definitely will be like a crash course, because the insecurity is staring us at the face, and it's biting harder and harder every day. I'm one of those that believe that this move to get more people into the military and the paramilitary sector, it's a good move. You know, if not for anything, it is going to provide employment for how many thousands of people, and then we'll have more boots on the ground. Now, while the intelligence gatherers are doing their intelligence and the rest, they have resources they can deploy to trouble spots. It is fantastic. I just hope that the process will be smooth. We're not going to hear the kind of stories we've been hearing about recruitments and all that. We are in a peculiar situation, and we should understand that and do these things not only right, but do them very fast.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the next newspaper because of our time. And this is Nigeria News Direct, with federal government to borrow 17.89 trillion naira to finance 2026 budget deficit. And borrowing is actually for the budget deficit, I think we talked about this yesterday, about 20.12 trillion naira. So one of the reasons is just the domestic borrowing, where we'll be getting 14.31 trillion, 80% of new loans, external borrowings 3.58 trillion naira, 20% of new loans. And you expressed concern, yesterday that, when we borrow, no problem, but then where do we utilize
the monies for? And then
we also borrow, the interest. What happens to the interest?
I'm definitely going to touch on that. But I was reading about it, and they say some of the monies they're borrowing is to pay salaries, build roads and projects, run ministries, fund security, and do government activities. Excellent, fantastic. But my only problem is this: is that we understand that yes, you can borrow, but at the end of the day, how are you paying back? We talk about interest rates. I mentioned it the other day. I mentioned 2005. And every time we talk about borrowing, I'll mention it because in that year, the interest rates grew really, really, it was a whole lot that the president had to go around and, asking that, we need to cut this down. So as long as we're borrowing, let's just make sure that we're able to pay this money. Let's borrow for the right things. And if we're taking money, let people see what the money is being used for. We say the money is used for roads. Let us see the roads. Let's see exactly what we're using this money for. Not telling people that, we are borrowing money, but at the end of the day, what are we using it for? Is it going into people's pockets? Is it going into people's personal bank accounts? So these are things that we really, really, need to look into.
Because of our time, Olabide, let's go to this Nigeria. Oshiomhole rather, Ndume face-off disrupts ambassadorial screening. Committee session descends into disorder as senators argue over motions, recognition and treatment of nominees. It's a procedural, challenge that they had. Oshiomhole needed to speak on Reno Mokri. Ndume also said, Reno Mokri, Oshiomhole was to speak on his character. Ndume too. Both of them were supporting the fact that, okay, Reno Mokri can, but Oshiomhole was telling Ndume, he was saying that those who have never been governor should allow them to talk. Ndume called him a hypocrite.
I've never
he also called Ndume a tout,
I've never heard a more professional way of saying, do you know who I am? That's essentially what Oshiomhole was saying there. Do you know who I am? But honestly, it's a shame that, allowing personal rivalries undermine serious national processes. It should be professionalism over politics, no matter what the case may be. Whether or not you like Reno Mokri, whether or not you're a past governor or your father is Jesus. This is a serious national process, and it's screening for these people to serve and represent the Nigerian people on a global scale. Let's not do big manism in this case. It's very funny to see Reno Mokri, your reputation precedes you.
I was going to say, Olamide, I was going to speak about Reno Mokri. I feel like the way a lot of people are really surprised because of the statements that he made. If you remember in 2023, he said he would never ever work with the APC. He continued to criticize the APC day in, day out. So, and that's why people are like, there's
a reason that mouths have two sides.
No, but the thing is, sometimes you make statements based on the context, based on what you had seen at the time.
He said he would never. I will look for the video.
You're allowed to change your mind when you're presented with new information.
Do you know that sometimes you will say, I will never do this, and then later on you are convinced the other way around because of the facts that you had at the time. Maybe you don't have a better fact, or you have something like, I think I make mistakes. You could have made mistakes saying that at the time.
He was criticizing the APC day in, day out.
It's no big deal to criticize.
If you make
politicians
categorical statements and you made it loud, and something happens, you have to contradict yourself. You should also make that contradiction as loud as the first
and factual as possible.
Yes, that's what.
No, he said.
I'll show you the video. I'll play the video again.
I know the video you're talking about.
The thing about Reno is that he's always making controversial statements. He makes this statement here, he makes that statement here. So maybe him being an ambassador, he will use that skill, for the betterment of our country.
All this going back and forth. Do you guys know who I am? Do you know who I am?
Interesting.
I think with Reno, he needs to watch his mouth. He needs to be sure of what he's saying before he says that, because that video was too convincing for us to now see him work for the APC. But it just shows that our president is one that follows who does the job and not what the person says.
And indeed, it's a lesson for all of us, to always make sure that, be careful of what statements we make.
Of course, very
don't
important.
make statements under duress. Don't make statements when you hate someone, because I know of a saying would say that do not hate someone, because they do not hate someone so much because you come another day to probably like the person, and do not like someone so much because there might be another day, another reason for you to hate the person. So
you should have been in that screening process. You should have been in that screening process.
All right, then let's move on to the platform times. This is likely going to be the last. Maritime scandal. U.S. Navy arrests Nigerian VLCC linked to oil theft, drug ring. Navy warns Nigeria lost $3.3 billion to crude theft in 1 year. CAC reviews vessels managing firm inactive with no contract. Etoma, we know that Tantita is also playing a very huge role when it comes to securing our pipelines, oil, on the sea and all of that. But we also know that people come from different parts of the world to still, take from our crude oil, switch off the AES, automatic, I've forgotten, I don't know why I always forget but that thing that they use to track the ship in the waters. And then they switch it off, you can't trace them. But they won't do this without internal collaborators.
Yes. I find it very worrisome that we have all these sharp practices once they get into Nigerian waters. You get out of Nigerian waters, your AES is back. Yeah. Everything, you're flying your flag, all the insignia that is supposed to be on your ship is there. But once you get into Nigerian waters, we find a whole lot of unidentified ships in Nigerian waters. What does that tell you? Yeah. We have an issue with enforcing maritime laws in Nigeria. That's what it tells me.
It's just maritime, actually.
No, we're talking about ships now, so let's stick to that. Yeah. And that is, for me, a major concern because maritime activities are directly affecting the economy of any country. Most of the big businesses that we do, moving of goods, services, and all that, is done through the maritime sector. So it is a sector that we should take a little bit more seriously. And because we do not do the oversight functions very well, do I call them criminal elements? Take advantage of it. And they do a whole lot of things that at the end of the day has the Nigerian stamp on it.
Absolutely. So looking at what's it called? Sport and Life saying ahead of AFCON, Nigeria's final 28-man squad has already been revealed. Okoye, Umar, Arokodare won't be making the match. Shell names 28 players for 2025 AFCON. Well, that's about it for the newspapers up for review.